Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
I'd like to call to order the July 17th, 2025 meeting of the Fitch-Rona EMS Commission. Roll call.
Sure, Michelle's not here tonight, so I will take care of that. We have Roberts is excused. Vafadari, Lepper.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Lytle was excused. Fusco.
Present.
Lonsdorf said he would not be here. Paul.
Here.
Lugenbuehl. Here. I am here. Deputy Chief Dostelik.
I'm here.
Deputy Chief Anders.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Any public comment this evening?
Public comment.
Then on to the good stuff here, the pinning of paramedic intern Jasmine Garcia.
So, Jasmine, this is our commission here. They're the ones who oversee our district. Jasmine will be intern number 4 for us. So, big shoes to fill. I have no doubt you'll be able to handle that. So, we'll do our swearing in for you. I'll have you raise your right hand, and then repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jasmine Garcia.
As an EMS provider of the Fitch-Rona EMS District.
As an EMS provider of the Fitch-Rona EMS District.
Swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Discharge the duties of an EMS provider to the best of my ability.
Discharge the duties of an EMS provider to the best of my ability.
I recognize the badge of my position as a symbol of faith and trust.
I recognize the badge of my position as a symbol of faith and trust.
To the employees, residents, and visitors of the district.
To the employees, residents, and visitors to the district.
I vow to be true to the morals and ethics of the emergency medical services profession.
I vow to be true to the morals and ethics of the emergency medical service professions.
And make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
And make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
All right, we'll have your father come up and put your pin on. Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you get pictures? Second to get out of here so they don't have to see the workings of.
Yeah, you don't want to stick around. Moving on to the next agenda item, review and approval of meeting minutes from June 12th, 2025. Any discussion, questions, corrections?
I make a motion that it pass.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion passes. Chief's report.
All right, thank you. So this was emailed out to you. I would like to start pointing out from the top there. We were actually down 2% last month, still up at 458 calls. So that's an average of we're at a 12% increase for the first half of the year, which again pretty high. Otherwise, the numbers that you see there are pretty par for what we have normally seen. Still like to point out that average. We had 24 times. Oops, I didn't change the April. That would be in June. 24 times in June where all three of our trucks were out on calls. And to date, 26 times we were out of calls to the point where a neighboring service actually had to come in and help us out. And I know we've added a couple more of those just in the first 2 weeks of this month. So our call volume continues to rise. A couple of community events that we did there. The hours of the week information that we've always pointed out. Our aging report, as I mentioned a couple months ago now, everything from our previous billing company has actually been merged into the one billing company. So EMSMC is our current billing company. You'll see our aging is pretty close to where we anticipated it to be. You'll see as far as our cash on hand there and the rest of the numbers in there. I didn't get a chance to follow up with Michelle. I know we've gotten our checks from the city of Verona and the city of Fitchburg, and I'm assuming we probably actually got the town of Verona's. It just didn't make it in here by July 1st. So that funding is in there. You will see the pretty significant increase in the WISC funding. That was actually based on the resolution that we had last month to increase that post-retirement healthcare fund. So that is in there. And then you'll see the expenditures for the oxygen concentrator and a couple of other items that we had in FAP funding that you approved last month. July seems to be a big month that we start people in. So our July milestones were actually pretty significant. I'll point out there, as it's in some of my notes here, Dale Dow, it's 28 years for him this month, and he today is actually his last shift. So we actually did have some retirement, some cake for him this afternoon. Tomorrow morning he'll get the official last page as he walks out of the station, and the crews will come. It's official walkout. It's not like firing walkout, but a celebration, a celebration of your last shift. His walkout will be tomorrow. He's still got, I think, somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks of vacation time that he will be burning up. But today was actually his last shift, and then pretty significant. Gary is the other one who was Gary and Sarah were the ones who were hired after me that 24 years ago to bring the service up to a career service. So Dale is actually the last one of our full-timers to have worked here when we were still a volunteer agency that 24 years ago. And then, all of our interns. So quite a few of them in July. Other updates that I have, one noted there is that the Medicaid Supplement Program, or CPE, I don't remember what it stands for, that I've been talking about, both the 2023 and 2024 submissions were put in. It's a rough estimate is somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 for each one of those years from the state to help offset those Medicaid payments. Those are truly still rough estimates at this point. We get a one-on-one, it's called a desk review with the organization that we submit that to. I have yet to have those. I did have a chat with one of them. I got my consultant when I had some questions when I was redoing it, and she did kind of give it a cursory overview. It looked pretty good, but it does get an official, it's called desk review. But so hoping we'll have that $40,000 to $50,000 again for each one of those years. We are supposed to actually get that at the end of this year, and then that will help offset, that'll get put into our estimated run income for subsequent years. And then I'd love to do the shout outs as well. Patient sent a thank you card for Brandon and Cam. Same thing for Ryan Dockery and Vanessa, who's one of our LTEs. And then the oxygen generator is here. It's not quite plugged in. It's all but plugged in. They do come and do an on-site training for us. So we're just waiting for that to get set up. But it was quite a task for but the oxygen generator and the tanks and everything run about 1,000 pounds. So it comes on a crate. And I wish I'd have had a video camera there of watching us. It's on wheels now, but it doesn't come with wheels. So trying to figure out how to get a 1,000-pound machine off of a pallet without wheels was a bit of a challenge. So between myself and a bunch of firefighters, we actually figured out how to get it done, and nobody got hurt pretty much. So, yeah. We have all of our fingers, and it was amazing. So a huge thank you to the firefighters who actually helped me get that room cleared out and move. We had to take out some cabinets, get that room cleared out, and get that thing installed in there. So love putting those shout outs. Other updates I have for you that were listed on there is the IGA. So the city of Verona did actually approve it, I want to say 2 meetings ago. It was approved as it is. The city of Fitchburg, I got from City Administrator Chad Breckland that it will be referred out to from council on July 22nd, and they plan on voting on it on August 12th. I did reach out to Sarah Gaskell, and I did not hear back. Have you seen it, Deb? We have not seen it yet. Okay. So I'll hopefully hear back from her, said I'm willing to come talk about that as well. So we've got one of the 3 municipalities done. My understanding is it's still a couple of very little minor things in there, but overall the agreement is done. They're working on just some small things. I shared about Dale's retirement. Yep, after all those years, we actually have hired his replacement. We did a conditional job offer to Jessie Peters. She was actually an LTE with us about 4 years ago. Worked full-time out in Wanakee, took a job with the city of Madison, had some stuff kind of happen there and was looking for kind of moving on to something different. So she'll actually be coming back to us in a full-time position. So we're hopefully going to see her next month, if not the month after, and we'll get her sworn in. And that's what I have for my chief's report.
Any questions? Any questions for the chief? I do have one, like in the resources section. Maybe I just
Do I have a typo?
No, I don't know if you have a typo. But that was one about April. But explain that, like, so when we say all trucks on calls in 2024, 24 times that's happened. Is that what that's saying?
Correct. In one
month.
In 1 month.
And then the mutual aid required.
Which means, so just because we have all the trucks on calls does not mean we lost a call. It just means, and I
You're
don't.
at capacity,
yeah,
you're maxed out.
And I don't separate those out. That could be 1 minute, that could be 2 hours.
Okay.
So the report truly just splits out that and it gives me times, but there's at least at one point where all 3 trucks were out of service. So we were at capacity. No additional call, potentially additional calls did come in. And the mutual aid call, that is cumulative. It happens, if you do the math there, it's about 4 to 5 times a month. So that is a time where all 3 of our trucks were out and another call came in our district, and they required another ambulance from a neighboring district to come in. 9.5 times out of 10, that's the city of Madison. But we have had Middleton and Belleville, and I think actually Oregon in our district as well, kind of depending on a number of factors on who's available to come into our district.
Does that factor in also if you all are on the call and you just need extra resources? Sorry. Does that also apply if you have folks already on the call and you just need extra resources?
It does not. I do separate those out. That also does not include closest unit calls. So if Greenway Cross is the prime example, we have borderless ALS here, which means if based on that certain code, it calls for the closest ambulance, which is also usually, for us, it's only ever the city of Madison. Those are factored out because those are calls that, right, we wouldn't have gotten to begin with. And same thing, right, if we have a motor vehicle accident, we need 3 ambulances and we get one from the city of Madison, I do not include those. Yeah, these are truly just times where we were out of ambulances and a call came in.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief regarding the report and the update to IGA discussions? Nope. So moving on to the next agenda item, review and approval of accounts payable checks authorized by Chief Anderson, which were provided in your packet. Any questions on those?
Yeah, so I had a question. Novair was paid $35,908 twice on the 12th and on the 25th. Was this the same? Was this like a duplicate payment, or is this a payment split into two?
It was the two payments. So that's the oxygen generator.
Got
that was about $75,000. They required 50% down before they would even pull it off the shelf, and then 50% before it would ship. Because of the dollar amount, it does require 2 signatures, which can be a challenge to get sometimes. So yes, that is actually 2 payments. There'll be one more, I think that's like a $2,000 payment in there for the ultimate for shipping. But no, that's the total amount of the oxygen generator.
Got it. My other question was just, there's a charge to Elevated Safety for $3,300 on the 19th. I'm just curious, what specific training or service did they provide?
So Elevated Safety is the company that Fitchburg Fire uses for the tech rescue training. So we have probably 9-ish medics who, I won't say cooperate, but they're actually trained in high angle rescue training. They don't do necessarily the rescue part of it, but they incorporate it as the medical part of it. So this last month or 2 months ago, they did trench rescues. So it's technical rescue training that we're training in cooperation with Fitchburg Fire. So if we actually had one of those instances occur in our district, our medics would actually be involved on that rescue team if they were the ones who participated in that training. So that's who Elevated Safety is.
Is the cost split then between you and Fire?
No, we just pay for our members to attend.
Okay.
So it's actually per person to attend.
Got it. Okay. And so is this redone like every year, like on a regular cadence, or is this a one-time kind of training?
The department itself does quarterly training. It's not always, taught by Elevated Safety. Usually annually, they try to get the company to come in here with the instructors to come in and actually hold that class. So 2 years ago, I want to say it was the high angle stuff. They were rappelling from the roof of the Alliant Energy Center. So lowering people down, they were over at Wingra Stone, lowering people from high spots. They've done the lifting people from low spots up, and this was the trench rescue. So usually once a year they try to bring Elevated Safety in to do an organized class, but they do quarterly trainings themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And later this fall, we have 4 or 5 new members going through the tech rescue course as well.
It's a great thing to have for this, and Verona participates in some of it, but it's a great thing to have here. We actually have 2 or 3 of our docs from UW who participate in it as well. So on the off chance, right, something bad happens here or in our neighborhood, in our probably neighboring facilities or vicinities, municipalities, that team is ready to go.
General question on that topic. So what are some other examples of tech rescue? Like you mentioned trenching, high angle. What are some other examples that would be that? I was just curious.
I mean, I don't know that they plan on doing confined space.
I think they probably will, but
So-
a lot of these things are all-encompassing within any time somebody would be stuck, whether it's in something, under something, or on top of something. It just definitely requires specialized training to safely get people out of those situations. And when we start talking about the trench rescue specifically, there's so many things that go into securing that trench before anyone can actually ever go in it. And then the medical side of things, instead of waiting for the firefighters to get the patient out and onto the ground, some of these rescues can take 4, 6, etc. hours. Having the medical component right at the patient's side while they're still trapped, or maybe they're not all the way out yet, allows that care to happen, especially when we start talking about crush injuries and stuff like that.
They aren't always that complicated. I forget how many years ago, but we did actually have two incidents here in the city of Fitchburg. One was a industrial or a commercial construction site. The other one was a residential construction site where the injuries actually happened at the residence was actually in a basement being built with no stairwell. It was to the point where there was no stairwell, so there was truly somebody right at below ground level who needed to be lifted out of a basement with no stairwell, and it was actually very similar at the commercial construction site, where it's actually 2 stories down with no stairwell. So it is actually a combination of ropes and ladders and baskets and stabilizing, sending our crews down to stabilize somebody and appropriately get them out of there. So we actually have had that occur here in the city of Fitchburg.
That's helpful. Thank you.
I had a couple questions. There seems like there's a lot of medical equipment that was a lot of different into that 50/20 account. Was that a lot because of the new ambulance that you had to get a lot of medical supplies for that? And the uniforms too. I just seemed like there was a lot of medical supplies and uniforms in this month.
Let me pull it up here really quick so that my short answer is going to be yes. To what page are you looking at?
You'll see that right. Well, there's one.
Yeah, I mean, some of that is just the cyclic nature of things expiring, but I'm thinking towards the end of the month. Some of that was, yes, purchasing of the airway supplies. Not necessarily the new ambulance, but the new, we got a couple of bags we actually had to replace. Uniforms is always, just seems like it's always there. It's kind of summertime and people are purchasing new uniforms. If you want, I can get more specifics of actually what those are.
Okay. And then for tune-up and repair for the equipment, you were at, looks like Kaiser Ford, which I know is Interstate Building,
Yeah.
Bill and Truck Star.
Yeah.
Was there a major repair that had to happen on a vehicle?
Yes. So, yes, we had a. You guys want to help me remember what they are? The Truck Star was, we had some vehicle damage to the side. One of the brand new ambulances tapped a fire truck. That was actually, it was covered by the insurance company via a claim, but we have $1,000 deductible. But we pay it and then we get reimbursed for it. So I know that's where Truck Star comes from.
Also had brakes, tires. We had
seemed
the
like
oil.
a lot of stuff just came due.
Yeah.
We thought it was an oil.
Repair.
Yeah, it sounded like it was an oil something, and it turned into something much larger.
Yes.
I can actually summarize those and tell you exactly what those were.
Okay, and then a transmission one too, so I don't know if something went on with the transmission.
So Jerry's transmission is actually, it's also called North Central. It's actually where we buy our ambulances from.
Okay.
That I know actually was the graphics. So when they had to redo the almost entire side of the ambulance from the fire truck tap, we ordered the graphics from Jerry's transmission, which is North Central, because they have the same color. And then Truck Star put them on.
Okay, yeah, just tune up and repair, and then when you see all those added up, you're like, okay, something major happened. So,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It was brakes.
Was the inverter also part
Tires, yes. So one of them was an older truck, needed a new inverter that was $2,000. Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had another quick question on that note. how many people or like staff do you have that you have to purchase uniforms for? Because it does seem like there are every month quite a few uniform line items, which is just surprising to me.
So it's the 21 full-timers plus the 3 us here, and each, they get a uniform allowance of $350 per year. They can actually carry over up to $100. So that the uniform allowance, or the uniform line item, I think is almost $30,000. Because then we also have LTEs. We just brought on, I think, 2 new LTEs this spring, which, so it's putting, our LTEs get $100 uniform allowance, but when they first start, they're given that basic couple of T-shirts and a sweatshirt and a ball cap, and I think something like that. So yeah, that's contractually $350 per employee. So technically up to $450. So that's why you see it on there so often, because it's a couple of T-shirts, it's a pair of boots, it's something. And we only keep T-shirts and sweatshirts in stock. So everything else that's out there, the employees either buy and get reimbursed, or we do have a store set up for them, an online store. But the vast majority of them buy it and get reimbursed. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
The other one is anything from Jefferson Fire. That's usually protective safety gear for staff. And I know I've had to have some of that. We've had to have some safety jackets replaced, repaired.
We have an expensive deputy chief that just started the beginning of the year. Stop that. a brand new employee is almost $1,500 worth of gear. Based on just getting uniforms, because they do get their initial issue is actually paid through Fitch-Rona. So it's a uniforms, a dress uniform, as well as turnout gear, which is about $3,000 a person. And then the high visibility jackets with liners that I think we just got for Devin. So that was a 6-month order. And I think Molly just got hers after an 8-month order. Other thing we're starting to see with, I think I brought it up last month, is both of those orders came with tariff fees on them. So we're going to start seeing that with our uniforms.
Are there other questions for the chief regarding the accounts payable checks? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Next, Resolution 2025-5, approval of GASB 44.
So this is that usual thing I talk about every month that we sign that says we have an unassigned fund balance with assigned funds in them. So the inventory and the prepaid, we base those off of the audit. Those will not change for the rest of the year. The funding assistance program, that's what we have the balance in there after paying what we've purchased already. The sick leave liability, you'll see the significant increase in that after we made that deposit last month. And then I forgot to update you on contract negotiations during the Chief's report. We've met the district group met once, and then we have done an initial proposal exchange with 311, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and we will meet next week, Tuesday, for kind of the first proposal, counter proposal, back and forth. So we haven't gotten any fees yet from the attorney's office since we have just now met 2 times. But we'll start to see the 24,000 will start to get tapped into here probably next month. We meet once. So far, it actually looks promising. I'm hoping maybe 1 or 2 more meetings, and we'll be pretty good. So I'll bring that back when I know.
So I need motion to approve. Right?
Microphone.
I can motion to approve.
Did I miss something?
Second.
Oh. I heard you. Do I have a second?
I second.
You seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Next, presentation and approval of the 2026 operational budget.
Thanks. So again, this was sent out. We did look at this last month, little tweaks here and there based on things that Michelle kind of encountered over the last month or so. And then I did actually figure out the apportionment. I will look at those at the end here based on what is in the proposed intergovernmental agreement. Reminding you, it says, I think it's, what did it say, a presentation and approval. This body does not officially approve our budget. What this body does is approve the submission, essentially, of the budget to the municipalities, and then it has to go through the normal municipal budgeting process. You're just approving it here to move on to them. So the run income, again, that's the average of a beautiful formula and actual run incomes, and we split the difference. I did add $40,000 into that based on what I'm anticipating we're going to get from the Medicaid reimbursement for 2025 in 2026. Interest is really high as it has been. Hopefully that will continue. You'll see I did double the number for contracted events, as we have seen that consistently that high over the last couple of years. That does directly reflect down when you see that unscheduled overtime that went up 82%. That's truly just a pass-through, right? So we raised contracted events significantly. All of that is considered unscheduled overtime because they're not scheduled. I mean, they're scheduled events, but they're not anticipated events, so we don't include those in our normal wages. We've just also seen the unscheduled overtime just continue to rise, so that's a little more closer to the actual amount of unscheduled overtime that we've had over the last 2 years. I think it got brought up last month about how did workers' comp go down. We had 2 lost time incidents 4 years ago now. They do an average of the last 3 years, so that is why the workers' comp went down, is because the lost time injuries, well, knock on wood, fell off of our claims. So we actually have a really good, again, I'll continue to knock on wood, we actually have a really good workers' comp factor for the nature of what we do. So overall expenses went up 6.3%. Like I mentioned last month, I will remind you, we haven't finished contract negotiations yet. So this number is completely subject to change. This was kind of a best guess about where we'll be with contract negotiations. That wages line may go up or down. Same thing with health insurance. That is a best guess based on what we've seen in the past, may go up or down. As far as the rest of the operational things, medical supplies, I feel like that jumps up that much every year, right? As I had mentioned, right, we're seeing the tariff fees on our uniforms. We're seeing, the cost of our medical equipment. They tell us every month that nobody really knows. So it's already gone up somewhere between 10 and 100% on some of those items. Other big jumps that are on there, right, is just the cost of a lot of the equipment, our radios, our CPR devices, our ventilators. We got those 3 to 4 years ago, and the initial preventive maintenance packages that we got when we bought those equipment is finally coming due, so that we need to renew those again. So that's why those numbers have gone up pretty significantly. That was very specifically with med maintenance. The cost of our ventilator preventative maintenance will be due. So 5.2% is really what we anticipated for our operating budget increase. 6.3% was for our wages and benefits increase. What that does is, let me pull up another chart for you. So overall, that gives us between the two of them an overall increase. It's in here somewhere. 6.3% for the salary. Essentially our operating costs has stayed the same for an overall budget increase of 5.2%. So here is the formula, the proposed intergovernmental agreement formula. It takes a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 of per capita, equalized value, and call volume averaged over the last 3 years. So this is what that chart looks like for 2022, 2023, and 2024. It takes the average of those three and then averages them into a percentage, and then you average those percentages together to get the 100%. So it ultimately ends up to be about 63, 32, and 4%. what that looks like when you plug those numbers into the budget. So over the last 3 years, run income has been 47, 46, and 56%. We're up now to about 52% this year, which means take out contracted events, the municipalities are paying about 47% of the operating budget of Fitch-Rona. So here's the changes from last year with the new intergovernmental agreement applied. Last year it was 56%, 38%, and 5%. This year it will be 63%, 32%, and 4%. So if you apply those down to what this is what the actual municipal costs will be, the request will be for 2025. If I go back here, those numbers are plugged in. So this is what that increase looks like for 2026, the 2026 budget. So Fitchburg will go up roughly about 10% as they went from the 53 to 63%ish. The city of Verona will go down, right, as that number is absorbed. The population and the call volume in the city of Fitchburg are higher, and then Verona, it drops down a little bit, and it drops down a lot, but a lot percentage-wise, but a little bit as far as number-wise. That's how I came to those numbers based on that intergovernmental agreement. Are there any questions?
I just want to understand one of the line items under expenses. It's 37, it's public education.
Yes.
What does that entail?
So that, coloring books.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I jokingly but seriously say coloring books, crayons, pens. This year I think we've got the ducks. Last year we had sunglasses. That's mostly what that is, and then candy for homecoming parades.
Badge stickers.
Yeah, truly
Badge
public
stickers.
education. Yeah, the stickers, the badges. We actually do some constructive. The coloring books are what happens when I call 911, and we have them in English and in Spanish, but that is public education.
Great. Okay.
Grants and coloring books.
I had another question just to ask the difference, because I think I asked this last year's budget.
Yep.
But you've got office supplies up 87%, and you also have facility furnishings up 80%.
So
what's the difference?
So facility furnishings is what we mattresses, lamps, light bulbs, fans. Trying to think what else falls under facilities. Where office supplies is usually that is the manila folder. It's anything you find at Staples. The manila folders, ink. Trying to think whatever.
Post-its,
laminates, pens,
notebooks. Yeah.
Yeah, that we did. I think last year we did replace one of our printers out of that line item. Yeah, that's the difference. We will be replacing we replaced the mattresses in the Verona station last year. We'll be replacing the mattresses in the Verona station and the other two Fitchburg stations this year. So I do have it, as I shared, right? This worksheet is fed by about 22 other worksheets that they're in there, right? So we know we're in a better replacement program. Before it was just like, oh, it's time to replace those.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other specifics, or if you have any other very specifics, I can again share with you the complete worksheet as you get in there. There's lots of notes and Post-its and comments everywhere between myself and Michelle about like, this is what this line item means. Some of that did go up because, and it should have been in last year's budget as well, but remembering that we kept that 6th ambulance, which means we added one more data terminal, one more license for a computer, one more license to log in, right? Everything is in its licensing, one more medication vault, one more, right? 2 more key boxes. So a lot of those licenses went up this year and next year. If I don't have any questions on this, I will hit if you remember, I shared with you last month the peak time staffing request. So I'll just share that one again. That'll be submitted as well. It says the city of Fitchburg on it because that's the one that's due first. I will be submitting a request for funding. It ends up being a 2.5 person full-time equivalency. What it is for 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to put in a fourth ambulance. At this point, it would be staffed with part-time or LTE staff. As I share those numbers with you every month, the thing I highlighted on here, the 44-year average for Fitch-Rona is a 4.6% increase. The last 5 years alone, we've seen a 9% increase in call volume, and as I pointed out, right, we are at 12% this year. So that number is only going up really quickly, not going back down as the people who are involved with the councils here, right, and the continued talk. I think there's at least one more senior housing memory care nursing facility in Verona, and I think at least one more looking at here in the city of Fitchburg within the next couple of years. Jeff is working on finding those numbers for me, as we've had a couple of them open in the last couple of years, of what that truly means as far as call volume and impact as we look at that need for additional staffing. So the equivalency ends up being about 2.5%. Here's how that wage is figured, right? That ends up being those 5 days. We did add in the cost of the employees, so odds are that those employees would go over the maximum amount of hours required to keep them out of state retirement. So we would ultimately end up putting them in state retirement. There is a workers' comp consideration for every employee we have, as well as taxes that we end up paying. I did include in here, there is the potential that if we have those people sign up for that fourth ambulance and we had somebody call in sick, we could actually not put that ambulance in service and have that scheduled crew cover, preventing us from having to call people in and pay double time as far as mandates. They would actually be able to cover that shift. So I did probably about a $10,000 roughly in savings of not having to mandate people back to work. So ultimately, to get not quite that amount of coverage, but if we had to hire full-time staffing to cover a 7-day-a-week ambulance for just peak time hours, would require hiring 4 full-time people. That is actually later here, but 4 full-time people roughly is about the guidance from the cities is about $115,000 per person. So to hire enough people to cover this same coverage is roughly $400,000 to $500,000. If we start with the LTEs and baby step our way there, we can do it for under $200,000. Lots of moving parts with this as well. That requires bringing on probably some more staffing to be able to staff this as well. Other part of this is we do need the union to get on board with this, because technically we are hiring people to work scheduled hours, which is in direct conflict with the union. So part of this would be an understanding that eventually these do move to probably a permanent part-time position, which would be a benefited position. But we can get there much slower with much smaller increases, and we can get the truck in service right in 2026. Knowing the math with the apportionments, I did put them down there at the bottom. So you'll see if this additional funding, and I don't want to say staffing because we have the staff to start doing this. We would need to hire more staff, more part-time staff. But for that amount there, if this is approved, what you saw in the previous budget would go up by this amount right here. So clearly the biggest impact is going to be Fitchburg. For the town of Verona and the city of Verona, you're still going to be at a negative balance from where you were last year. But the city of Fitchburg is already taking the biggest chunk with that increase next year, so this would end up being on top of that. Keeping in mind that because we are a special district, right, the potential to exceed our increases or remove our increases from tax levy limits is there. So that's hopefully myself to the city of Fitchburg council and the mayor. I have talked with the finance directors and the city administrators from both cities about this and kind of outlined all of this. And of course, they suggested to submit it, and we'll see what happens. So I will be submitting this again. The budget that I'm asking you to approve tonight does not it includes this, but those numbers are not in there. It's just this will be submitted in addition to. The other thing to share that I will be submitting as well. This is really just a putting it on the radar thing. So one of the requests that the union has worked through, and I've only got X amount of spots to fill in the data here, but the union has asked for the district to look at a different staffing model. They currently work we call it essentially the 24/48. They work 1 day on, they have 2 days off. Every 3 weeks they have called what's a Kelly shift. So if they were that 24/48 would work on a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's too many days in a week, right? That's more than a 48-hour work week. So every 3 weeks they have off one of either the Sunday or the Wednesday. I have people who only work Sundays and Wednesdays. So they always work a 48-hour work week with 2 days a week. I don't want to say latest and greatest because it kind of sounds very faddish, but there's some research out there, right, about mental health and burnout and fatigue and provider fatigue. And as we continue to get busier, right? So one of the things is actually allowing more time off between shifts, and that would actually be converting to a 24/72 schedule, which Fitch-Rona actually worked back in up till about 2005. That's what we had. So one of the requests is to move to a 24/72 schedule. With that, that would require the hiring of 3 full-time people. So that is a huge financial impact, as I've done the math and the sheet next down here. So to hire 3 full-time people, roughly $364,000. Fitchburg's share is on here because Fitchburg is the one that goes first. Right. Pros of that is it gives our staff more time. There's a lot of logistical things that would have to be reworked out to make that happen. When we did that, we had a 4-week pay period, so this actually becomes some weird pay stuff. There are agencies who do this already, so we can work with them to see. Hiring of these 3 new people would require a contract renegotiation because their current contract is salaries and wages and benefits are all based off of that working a 48-hour work week. This schedule would give them a 36-hour work week every 4 weeks, but it would allow more time off. I did put the note in here. And we are seeing it in southern Wisconsin. Deer Grove has gone to this schedule and Baraboo has gone to this schedule. And I put it in there because I have given 2 job offers to people who currently work at those places, and both of them did not come work here because they are working the 24/72s at their place. So I think we are going to start seeing that as far as, I don't want to say retention, but as far as recruitment, it has already been impacted our recruitment. So I do put it on here. I am very aware of the directive from, at least from the city of Fitchburg's mayor of like, don't ask for new people. So asking for 3 new people, I think is a pretty big lift. But I do want to put it on the radar of this is something that has been brought up by the union that I think, if the opportunity presents itself in the future, this is something that we should put on the table and talk about. One of the drawbacks of this is though it helps our current staff, right? It does not alleviate, it doesn't put any more ambulances on the street. It just helps the mental health and recovery of our current staff, which is important. But we also have that issue of not being able to cover calls. So putting a 4th ambulance in service at about half the price would as well help redistribute those calls, right? They're still working as many hours. They're just not going on as many calls on those hours. So that when it asked about priorities, my priority would be to get that peak time ambulance in, right? That's going to help a couple of fold. But I will be submitting this as far as putting it on the radar. Right, I'm pretty sure the mayor said, "Don't even ask." I want to ask, but this I will submit. I'll submit this as well, at least to get it on the radar that for talking topics in the future. So those are the 3 items I have to share with you for the 2026 budget process. We'll entertain some questions.
Questions for the chief?
I have a question. If for some reason you did decide to go with those 3 full-time people, would that reduce the overtime costs that we are seeing on here?
Technically, but it would show up the same way.
Probably not, because it's still the exact same number of hours that would be worked every week. There would just be more people filling them. The number of hours we would have ambulance in service does not change. If that makes sense. I still have 3 ambulances 24/7. I just have more people doing it.
Okay, but instead of working 48 hours a week, which technically there's 8 hours of overtime, now they're only working 36 hours a week.
Yes.
It's 48, 48, 48, 24.
Yes.
Okay.
There's some logistical challenges that really come with pay. The scheduling ends up working all right. There's some pay issues that come with this because, as I mentioned, this would require a contract renegotiation because it's working less hours.
Okay.
So clearly they're not going to want to do, get a pay cut, but they're also working less hours. So we got to find where that happy spot is.
Okay.
So yes, I'm sorry, it would reduce that.
Okay, thank you.
The payroll issues, I shouldn't say issues, but challenges come in. Having worked that 24/72 schedule for 15 years, you get one big paycheck, one little paycheck, one big one little, one big. So you never have the same paycheck, essentially. And so that makes it a little bit goofy, just from the payroll side of things. But you get used to it.
Question on that. With the payroll, you said is it one pay period, or do you do biweekly or monthly, I guess?
We do bi-weekly.
You do
I think in the
bi-weekly.
past, when Fitch-Rona had the schedule, it was a monthly. Correct, Chief?
Correct. When we initially had this schedule back in the early 2000s, we actually had a 4-week pay period. So it was just fine because it's a 4-week schedule. We ended up changing to the 2-week schedule for various, the IRS actually does not recognize a 4-week pay period, and somebody actually had to pay child support. So we changed our schedule. So it was fine. But yeah, that would be one of the challenges for the employee, not necessarily the district.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
One more. Sorry. So if you ask for the 2.5 part-time hours and they don't approve all of it, can they improve some of it, or is that the minimum you need to cover what you're asking? Could they approve a 1.5?
They could. I started, well, when I originally put this together, and I don't think I presented to you, I did ask for 7 days a week, understanding that I got to keep that cost down if I'm going to get it approved. So then I went to 5 days a week. They could actually, approve, or let's do it 3 days a week. I mean, the challenge is, well, I don't know what 3 days a week, but it would be a start. I think anything gets us there. As I mentioned, it's easier to me. This is because last year for this year, I asked for 4 full-timers that would cover that peak time ambulance, and realizing that was a huge ask. The benefit of starting with the LTEs is because it is a non-benefited position, right? So it's truly wages plus, right? The benefit would be state retirement. Ultimately, in Patrick's vision, right, I would find a core group of LTE part-timers who right now are just picking up various shifts. The prime example, and I'll use her name, so Kat Floyd, who was our full-timer a year ago, had a newborn, and based on their schedule with her husband, right, it didn't work for finding childcare for 2 days a week. So she left full-time and went to part-time. 2 day shifts a week would be perfect for her, right? So she could pick up every Monday, Thursday. If I could find that core group of people who picked up, right, every Monday, Thursday, every Tuesday, Friday, it would easily, I don't know about easily, but it would fill that schedule. They would know when they were working. Now, clearly that would end up morphing into, right, probably even by letter of the law, a permanent part-time job, which is addressed in the union contract, not just very specifically. So, but to me, it's a baby step, right? If we can get them in the door, we get that schedule established, we get the salary, which is the big bite, and then maybe in 2026, right, 2 of them are hired as permanent part-time and start accruing benefits, right? So, and then maybe in 2027, we hire 2 more of them as permanent part-time and start accruing benefits. So it's much smaller leaps to get to that coverage than it is to hire 4 full-time people out the gate. That's my vision. We'll see what happens.
So that I'm clear in my head, the motion tonight is going to be to approve the submission of the 2026 operational budget to the municipalities, period. This submission also includes these 2 or 3, what do you call these? Are these policy staffing? Yeah, so the submission would also include these 2 or 3. 2 staffing requests, that this is kind of one package to the municipalities. Okay, so to clean that up so somebody can say so moved, I'm going to say the motion this evening would be approval of the 2026 submission of the 2026 operational budget to the municipalities, including the 2 staffing requests. Do I have a so moved?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Passes. Next up is other business is allowed by law. Anybody have other business? Anything we missed? Anything to share for the good of the district? Anything?
Not missing anything?
I think so.
I don't think so.
All right, so moving on to, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 7:57.